Story time on when my high school gym teacher in freshman year got caught watching CP in his classroom. And mind you, the door was glass see-through. All right, so to start this off, I had already pre-recorded this, but like I did not like how long I was talking for. Like I think it was just too long of a story to like. I feel it's a too short of a story to make it that long, right? Okay, so basically what happened was is that my experience with him was definitely very much like I kind of figured that he was kind of weird, right? And he always had these like weird moments with a lot of the students. And like one of the weirdest things was that he would make you, if you missed a class, like he would make you do like exercises in his classroom. And at the time, like there was an experience I had with him where I missed a gym class, right? And I had to go and do the exercises in his classroom. And the thing is that like I didn't really think too much of it, and my best friend at the time, Dom, who was a junior, ended up being like, hey, can I come with you? Like, I've heard a lot about him, like, just let me be there to kind of chaperone. And I was like, oh, like, I didn't think he was that weird or whatever, because in my head I was like, oh, he's just he's a teacher, right? I was very wrong, because then what ended up happening was that he had asked me to do like squats and jumping jacks and like sit-ups in his classroom while he was like facing me. And when my friend came in afterwards, after I already started, he looked at me and he goes, hey, I need you to change your shirt like right now. And I was like, what do you mean I need to change my shirt? I forgot that I was wearing a crop top at the time, right? So my friend was like, I'm gonna give you my shirt, like go and change and we'll switch shirts. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So he ended up giving me his shirt at the time, and then I gave him my crop top. And my gym teacher was like really upset when he like saw that we had switched shirts. And at the time I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was kind of like, oh, like he didn't want us to be changing, you know what I mean? But like now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, why did you want me to stay in my crop top while I was doing exercises, right? And so like I ended up doing my exercises or whatever, and it was very awkward, and my teacher ended up being really upset with me, just like literally just about that shirt thing. Like he was just like really uncomfortable with the fact that my friend Dom was there too, and he was like, you shouldn't be here, you need to go. And then Dom was like, I'm not leaving, because like he knew he was weird. Like, and I again, like I didn't think anything of it. I keep forgetting. Oh my god. It was really weird because our school didn't have a gymnasium, but we did have like a community center that was like right up the hill from us. So we would go there, and he would tell us to do these exercises, and he would like purposefully turn around to show us how to do squats. Like I think it's pretty easy to know how to do a squat, right? Like I think everybody knows how to do a squat. And then a couple months later, like we had gotten an email from our school. Our school was like, oh, we are handling a situation with a teacher and a student. Like if you have any information that you already know, please let us know and we will like get in contact with you. Everyone immediately thought that that was like a teacher and a student, like, getting. And what ended up happening was that me and my friends at the time when we got this email, we were all in class and we were like, we should do an investigation. Who is this teacher? So we took it upon ourselves and we all started like, making a list of all the teachers that didn't go to school, like didn't come to school that week and or that day, right? And we ended up not coming to a conclusion of who wasn't there because again, we didn't think about the gym teacher. For some reason, we just didn't think about it, right? So then, our teacher told us to stop because it was like, very inappropriate to be doing that during the middle of class and like talking about like teachers fornicating with students, right? So we ended up like stopping, and then a couple months later my friend Dom had come up to me and he was like, hey, do you know about the whole situation with our gym teacher? And I was like, what? Like our gym teacher, what? So then he ends up telling me the story, and it was basically that one of the seniors at my school had stayed after school to like do some extra credit thing or whatever. She ends up walking into the room that he was in, and mind you, the room that he was in had no top to it, and like literally was just like 4 pillar like wall things and then a glass door to like make it into a room, right? In the middle of school. It's like She walks into the dorm and she just sees him doing his thing. And we're all like, what the fuck? So then she calls the police, whatever. And then we later find out that he literally was watching CP while doing that in a school, matter of fact. What makes it so heartbreaking is the fact that he had a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old at the time. Literally, children. He had children. And what's even crazier is that he lived 2 blocks away from me. So, like, he literally just knew where I lived. Not that he knew where I lived, but, like, my dad and him were talking about it. Like, oh, I live on Roxbury. Oh, I live on Water. Da, da, da. I'm like, why? What the fuck would you tell my teacher that? Anyways, that was just, like, the craziest thing that happened my freshman year, because then eventually we had fucking COVID or whatever. But, like, literally, it was so crazy. He got, like, registered as a sex offender after that. And I don't know what happened to him, but, like, he literally, it was just so crazy. Like, it was not real. Like, I don't even know what to say. Anyways, let me know if you want another story time.
I became a mother at 23 years old with my oldest daughter, who's now 21, and one of the best things to ever happen to me. I lived in New York City, and I got pregnant with her dad, who lived in Florida. I packed up everything, and I moved home to live with my brother. One of the most depressing days in my life, because I genuinely didn't know what was going to happen. I thought my life was over. I wasn't with her dad, and I really just thought, this is it. This is the end of my life. I got a job at a grocery store, and I also got a job at a car dealership. I didn't have a car because I lived in New York, so I would take 2 buses to work while I was pregnant, not knowing what I was doing. Obviously, I had her. She instantly, you don't know real unconditional love until you see a child that you birthed. I don't want to say that. Someone's going to get offended by that, but if you know what I mean, I don't mean it like that. Her dad did end up living with us for about 7 months, and then he went back to Florida, and I pretty much raised her on my own. And now her dad's in her life. Everything's fine. No ill will towards him. We were young and dumb, and that's not the point of this story. 10 years later, I got pregnant with my second daughter, whose name is Violet. She's a gem. If you know, she's been on here. And that was pretty quick. I don't want to go too much into that for just personal reasons, but let's just say it didn't work out. Once again, thought my life was over. It was not a good situation. I was very depressed, but I knew that I wasn't going to have an abortion. And I had her, and thank God I did, because she is the light of my life. She's an artistic genius, and she's just amazing. If you're sensing a theme, yes, I didn't have the best relationships. I do have amazing children. I just couldn't seem to pick the right people, or I couldn't seem to make things work. And the more I tried, the more I failed. And I always had this internal thing that felt like if I just found the right person, my life would be complete. If I just found someone to save me from my life would be complete. I had damsel in distress syndrome. I had single mom syndrome. Everything happened to me. Everything made me a victim. I couldn't seem to get it together. I couldn't seem to make the right choices. I just struggled for so long. And then fast forward to when I was 41, I met my now ex-husband, and I was in a very weird place. I was desperate to get married. I thought that I had to get married. I thought it was the only way that my life could make sense from all the past mistakes that I made. So I met someone who proposed to me after 2 months. Even though I knew it wasn't right, I went along with it. And that is a story for another day. But let's just say when you are starving for something, you don't have the correct discernment. And I don't blame him. It was just very rushed. It wasn't the best decision. I went into the darkest depression of my life. I got pregnant with my son. Thank God I had my son, because I knew I was meant to have a boy. Like, I'm so happy. Like, I feel so complete having 2 girls and a boy. But I was in a dark depression, and I had to leave that marriage. And now I'm like, wow, I am a loser. 3 baby daddies, 3 kids, single mom, in her 40s. No one's going to want me. I am a loser. I have ruined my life. Even though I have amazing children, I am damaged goods. I am not worth anything. I just had so much shame and guilt, and I just felt like I had ruined it. I had not been successful in a job. I had not found my niche. I was always getting by paycheck to paycheck. I would find spurts of happiness, but I knew I wasn't happy. And while I was pregnant with my son, I had nothing. I was, as you know, who followed me, I was door dashing. I was cleaning an office. I was barely scraping by. And all I prayed for was, God, please just let me do something that I can be home with my kids. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to be able to work from home to raise my kids. That's all. I didn't care about a guy anymore. I had kind of got to the point where I was like, well, I can't get this right, but let me get this part right. Let me get the mom part right. And by the grace of God and determination, I got a dream job. Fast forward 2 years later, I fully support my children. I work from home. I set a goal for myself last year, and I don't like to talk about money, but I set a goal for myself that seemed unattainable, and I hit it. And I was just so humbled the past couple of days, just thinking about life and how I thought that the only thing that would fix me would be finding love from a man. The only thing that would fix me would be if I got married, and I just thought that that would complete everything, that everything would just make sense once I found someone. And I was talking to my daughter last night, and I said, maybe the happy ending isn't that I found the man. It's that I found my purpose. I found success in something that I'm actually good at. I found the drive that I didn't know I had. I found that I don't have to be a victim, that I don't have to live struggling, that I don't have to go to bed thinking about how to pay the rent, that I don't have to go to bed thinking about how to get groceries. I don't have to live that way. And the love that you get from another person is beautiful. But if you're not happy, and if you don't find purpose through God and things that make you feel fulfilled, it doesn't matter who you meet, because another person is not capable to fill the void that you need to find within yourself. And finding success in something that I feel aligned with is something that I never thought would happen, because I just worked so many jobs where I felt so incompetent. I felt stupid. I felt incapable. I just didn't even think about a future. I didn't even think I'd be able to support my kids. I didn't even think that I could have success. And now that I have a taste of it, I will never, ever fail. And if I do fail, I will find something else and succeed in that, because it's all in your mind. And if Valentine's Day hurts for you because you don't have someone, and you feel incomplete because you don't have that love, I encourage you to really just explore the things that fulfill you inside, because there is nothing wrong with wanting romantic love. I still want it really bad. But now I want it not to complete me, but to, complement me, to complement my life. I think I just lived this past year not really believing that I was doing well, and knowing that all these years of struggling, being a single mom, making the wrong choices, going through things where I thought I wouldn't come out of, and then being in this place now, there's nothing I can say other than I am incredibly grateful and humbled to live this life, good and bad. And if I never find that romantic love, I never find it. I hope I do. But if I don't, it's okay. And I think sometimes we have to go through things so that we can be ready for the good things. And you should always be ready for the good things, because you deserve them. And I think Valentine's Day is one of my favorite holidays, because it just celebrates love. And I love love, and I'm passionate, obviously. And so if you feel stuck, or you feel depressed, or you feel hopeless, just know that it is genuinely never too late. I'm 44, about to be 45. And I just now feel like I am getting it. Sorry, I'm crying cringe, but I just felt emotional, and I wanted to share that with you guys. And I'm sorry this is long, and I hope you stuck around. Love you. Happy Valentine's Day. Bye.
I was posting on here about how I was excited to go on a few dates with this one guy in particular. We did have our third date, and it did not go well, and we will not be seeing each other again, and let me tell you about it. We go to the movie, It's a dine-in theater. We eat dinner, we have drinks. Afterwards, he told me there's a country bar nearby because he knows that I love a country bar and I've been wanting to try some in Arizona. So we go to the country bar, do a little line dancing, have an amazing time. I haven't been to his place yet up to this point, but he lives very close to this country bar that we ended up at. So I suggest going back to his place because I'm tired and I want to like sit down. So we go back to his place and we're getting settled. He puts his phone on the aux, he pours us some wine. I end up falling asleep on his shoulder on the sofa. So he wakes me up at some point and he's like, hey, do you want to just go climb into the bed and we can just call it a night? And I'm like, comfortable and I'm cozy with this guy, and I'm like, yes, I do. So like we skedaddle to the bedroom and we lay down. He kisses me on the side of my face. Mwah, good night, he says, and I say good night, and I snuggle into my pillow and I fall the fuck asleep. This is where things apparently go awry. I wake up probably an hour or so later. I'm not sure exactly how much time has passed. I wake up to the light being banged on and he's like moving around, and I sit up and I'm like, why did you turn the light on? He's like, your Uber will be here in 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, you want me to leave? And he's like, yep. My heart starts beating faster and I'm like, okay, like what happened? No response. He ignores me. I have PTSD, I have triggers, and this is one of them. So my heart is picking up faster all the time. I come out into the living room and I'm like, did something happen? Like, what's going on? Are you, like, you seem upset. He ignores me again, walks around me and goes into the bedroom. I sit down for a second on the sofa. I'm sitting in the dark in the living room and I'm just like, is something wrong? Like, what happened? No response. I peek my head around the corner and I'm like, do you want to tell me what's going on, or do you just never want to see me again? Because at this point I'm getting angry. He was like, yeah, probably not. And he starts recording me on his phone. At this point I back off because I'm not trying to have any trouble with this man who's turned. So I go back and I sit on the sofa in the living room in the dark by myself for 10 minutes. Eventually he comes out of the bedroom and he opens his front door and he's like, the Uber will be here in 1 minute. I'm like, okay. So I get up and I walk to the door and I look out and there's no car in sight and we're in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, I'll just wait inside until the car gets here. So he's just standing there with the door open, like just looking at me, like, leave. And I'm like trembling. I'm just like standing there, like shaking. I ask him one more time. I say, like, are you really not gonna tell me what's going on? He looks me dead in my eyes. I tried to cuddle you and I tried to like get something started and you were super cold with me. So you can go. As he's saying this, I have the vaguest recollection come to my memory of him trying to grope me in my sleep and me kind of being like, you tried to touch me in my sleep? He's like, yeah, I just tried to get something going with you and you just weren't having it, so you can just go. He's like sneering at me at this point. Just as regal as I can manage, I walk away down the steps, I check the license plate, and I get into this car. What's crazy is that I absolutely would have and was planning to sleep with this man. If I had been awake and he had tried to touch me, we probably would have gone somewhere. But you didn't touch me while I was awake, you touched me while I was asleep, and then got mad that my sleeping self rejected you touching me in my sleep. And then to treat me so coldly after, to not want to explain why you're kicking me out, to record me, and then to laugh in my face. He had me fucking fooled. He was such a gentleman. He was so lovely. Men are really scary. Please be careful. And after this encounter, I personally will not be going back to a man's residence until like date number 12, because apparently you guys are out there being really fucking sneaky and hiding your crazy a little too well.
Get ready with me for school while I give you guys a story time on how I found out my boyfriend was cheating on me on his own birthday party. Disclaimer, this is not my story. It was sent to me anonymously, so let's get into it. So basically, I found out my ex was cheating on me, but I didn't know the full story yet. And the crazy part is that he invited both me and the girl he cheated on me with to his birthday party. And mind you, neither of us knew about each other, so no, this wasn't no side piece or sneaky link type of thing. So we both show up looking cute, thinking we're both the girlfriends and stuff. And at first we're being nice to each other, introducing ourselves to everybody at the party. And tell me why the boyfriend walks in. I'm not calling him my boyfriend because clearly he was not just my boyfriend. Then he walks in and tell me why we both go up to him and hug him at the same time. It was literally the most awkwardest thing ever because I pulled back and I was like, that's my boyfriend. And tell me why she looks at me and goes, no, that's my boyfriend. When I tell you my heart dropped to my fucking ass. We start arguing because we're both just confused and sad. It turns into this whole big scene and like drama club thing. So we eventually just both leave the party. And he was just in the middle of us trying to calm us down like, boy, you're just as guilty. Like, so after me and the girl both left the party, he goes to her, just trying to fix things, trying to get back with her, and she tells him that she wants nothing to do with him. So what does he do? He comes to me and he made it seem like he chose me first, like he left her for me. So I was being like a little dumb and I believed him, so I got back together with him. Then later, the girl, let's call her Pineapple. She had texted me. She was like, "Hey girl, this is Pineapple. So and so just tried to get back with me after the party." And I was just confused because that's like he told me the complete opposite. Like he said he chose me first. That's when everything started adding up. So I broke up with him for real this time. And guess what? I find out that he has 2 other girls on his phone. Not just me, not just Pineapple, 2 other random girls. This whole thing was just so embarrassing, messy, and honestly, it was exhausting. But at least me and the girl didn't fight over him. So thank God we just figured out the truth instead of like fighting over a man that wasn't worth shit. Guys, that is it for the story. If you guys have any stories that you guys want me to read, let me know. DM me. My DMs are always open. So yes, peace.
Get ready with me while I prepare to go break up with my boyfriend on our 2-year anniversary dinner. This was not an easy decision to make, and I'm still low-key deciding if I actually want to do it. My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years, and everything is perfect besides one thing: his sister. His family has never really liked me that much, but it never really bothered me because I liked him and he liked me. But as soon as we started talking about building a family, things got toxic. Our family planning phase of our relationship, I noticed he started spending a lot more time with his sister, who he wasn't really close to throughout the beginning of our relationship. We would have one short phone call or conversation about getting married, having children, and then he would hang up on me to talk to his sister for hours. And don't get me wrong, I'm really close with my family too, but I noticed she started inviting him out to be with her homegirls and going to the club whenever she was in the club because she was single. It became an issue for real though when he would not come home after being out with her and her friends, and I would ask him, "Hey, where are you at?" And he said he was spending the night at his sister's. First, I was fine with it until he told me that her homegirls were spending the night too. I love this man and I would do anything for him, but I was just simply not comfortable with him spending the night with other girls. And when I would try and have mature conversations with him about this, she would always jump to his defense. If you trust him, it should be okay that he's hanging out with girls. If you love him, you wouldn't judge him for wanting to be around my friend. You must be insecure. Mind you, I was none of these things before she came into the picture, but I realized that she was making me insecure and I was starting to lose myself over this relationship with his sister. So one day he comes back from hanging out with his sister. He had spent 2 nights over there consecutively, and I decided to go through his phone. And that's when I found out that he had a Tinder, Hinge, and Bumble account. I was absolutely devastated, and when I confronted him about it, he basically told me that she pressured him to explore his options before marrying me, and even though our relationship was serious, it wasn't that serious, and if I'm gonna find somebody better, now's the time. I was absolutely devastated, and I really didn't know what to do. I did some more digging and saw that he had been active on these accounts since around Christmas time, and I decided that today was going to be the perfect day to end things. Oh my gosh. But I don't know, guys. I feel like we're young and stupid. Like, his sister is older than him and he takes her advice really seriously. So part of me feels like maybe he did those things because he really just wanted to take her advice. Like, he wasn't actually trying to hurt me. At least that's what he said.
Not to mention, we've been together since high school, and I kind of don't want to throw away such a serious and long relationship over something that his sister did wrong, you know? So I'm lost, guys. I really don't know what to do. I mean, I did catch him on these apps, and I did catch him using his sister to cheat on me, but at the end of the day, like, I wanted to marry him before all of this, and I feel like if we got rid of her, we would get rid of the problem. You feel me? Come back for part 2, I guess.
I'm the girl who was married for almost 20 years, whose husband gave her a kiss, said I loved you, walked out the door to a doctor's appointment, and turned off his phone for hours, and then finally sent a text and said that he wasn't coming home, he wanted a divorce. So here I am, the worst headspace I've ever been in, and I'm trying to figure it all out. I'm using this so that I can look back at the end of the year and see how far I've come, and hopefully there's a lot of progress. I'm the girl who was married for almost 20 years, whose husband gave her a kiss, said I love you, left for an appointment, then turned off his phone for a couple hours, and then sent a text and said he wanted a divorce. So this actually happened in 2024, but before that, in 2023, he retired from the Army and we moved back to our hometown. We had been here for about a year, and then in January 2024 is when this happened. It was the end of January. And so he sent that text and then went and got a hotel room. And a couple days later, we decided that we would try and work on it. And so he got an Airbnb, then he stayed with his parents. And then we bought him a house for him to stay in while we worked on things during the separation. That went on from about January, the end of January, until June of 2024. Then in June of 2024, we decided, okay, this isn't working, and just decided to stay separated and do our own thing. We didn't file for a divorce for a multitude of reasons, and we actually still haven't filed for a divorce for a multitude of reasons. Anyway, December 2024, we decided that we were going to work on it again. He was still going to keep his house and stay there, and I would stay in our family home with our son. And eventually the plan was for him to move back into our house, and we would rent the house that he lives in currently. So that went on from about December of 2024 until June of 2025. And we went on a family cruise in June. And when we came back, he decided that, it wasn't working. He didn't ever see himself coming back home and decided to stop working on it. So since then, it has stayed that way, and there's no plan or intention or possibility of us working it out. So I do have to say, though, especially from watching all these videos, I'm so blessed in my situation. I know this could all change, but right now things are incredibly amicable. We are still working together to figure out finances, housing situations. I'm in grad school for my MSW, and I have my career as a realtor, and things are as peaceful and as pleasant as can be. But that doesn't change the fact that I've completely lost myself over the last 2 years. I have no idea who I am. I don't take care of myself. I do nothing for myself. I focus on my son, try and get through school. So that's why 2026 is going to just be me focusing on myself, trying to get back to the basics, and hopefully you all want to see this video diary with me so I can compare next year. But I know drama and negative things is what people want to see, but I really don't have anything bad to say about him. We got married really fast, 6 months, and I was 19, he was 24, military, if you know, you know. Lots of just crazy behaviors throughout the whole time from both of us. So yeah, I'm just gonna focus on me. I have a million things I want to do this year, and basically just starting with taking care of myself and being the best version of myself so I can be the best version for my son. And I am excited to have all of your inputs and guidance and all of that.
I'm the girl whose husband left after 20 years, and I am spending 2026 finding myself and having my own little glow up. So I need your help. I'm going to show you what I do for skincare and then also tell you some cringy things that I did after he left to hopefully prevent anyone else from doing such a cringy thing, and also so that I can reflect back on how far I've come at the end of this year. So I know that I look older than 40. I'm about to be 41, so I'm a little late to the skincare game, and I don't do much, so I need your help. So I just started this, but in the mornings, I put on this red light mask. It's nothing fancy. I got it from Walmart, and I've only been using it about a week, so I don't really know if it's gonna help or not, but do this. And then I use this Clinique to wash my face when I get my shower, and use this Clinique Moisture Surge lotion after my shower, and then do eye masks. These are just generic ones from Marshall's. If you recommend a brand, let me know. But that's all I do. So what am I missing so that my skin doesn't look so old, so that I don't look so old? I want to reverse age this year. And then probably the most cringy thing I did on this journey, that's really embarrassing to even admit, but I'm going to for the sake of growth, is when my husband left, I bought this book, The Empowered Wife. Now, I'm not hating on anyone who loves it, but this just really isn't my style. However, I was willing to bend anything to try and keep my family together. In this book, the front says 6 surprising secrets for attracting your husband's time, attention, and affection. And basically what I took from this was do whatever, bend to whatever, so that your husband will love you. And I read this and I studied it and I implemented everything that I thought that would work. And maybe it helped. He did come back for 6 months and then left again. But at any rate, this was ridiculous. Yes, I have plenty of faults. We both do. Obviously, over 20 years, everyone makes mistakes. But this was, in my interpretation, telling me to change everything about myself, basically so that he would want me. So it made me feel even worse and didn't work long term. But lots of great reviews. So if this was your wheelhorse, you might really like it. But that's probably the worst thing that I did, or one of the worst things that makes me the most embarrassed. Instead of just picking myself up, I looked for every way I could to try and get him back. And now that I'm a little bit out of it, it's just really embarrassing, and I never want to put myself in a situation like that again. So that is my first cringy thing, and as we go through this, I'm sure I will have many more to share. But again, face care tips, skin tips, so that I don't look 41, or at least I stop aging so much. So I'm anxious to hear what you say and suggest, and we'll see how they work. If you didn't see my other videos, I'm the girl whose husband left after almost 20 years, gave me a kiss, said I love you, left for an appointment, turned off his phone, a couple hours later sent a text and said he wanted a divorce. Just Charles, I don't think this comment hit the way you were intending it to. I probably did a million things. I got married when I was 19 after 6 months to someone in the military, spent 18 and a half years following them around for their 20-year career, and I would be absolutely insane to say that I did never do anything that hurt our marriage. That's asinine. At 19 years old, you hardly know how to function, let alone be married and be a military spouse and leave everything you know. So there's probably a lot of things I did wrong. I wouldn't know because we didn't talk about those things very often, because you also are taught to not really address your emotions when you're in the military. So I don't know all of the things that I probably did wrong, but I can guarantee you that I probably did something that bothered him, or we wouldn't be in this situation. I'm very self-aware. I've been in therapy. I've worked on me because I don't ever want to take anything that I've done into another relationship. I just want to be overall happier for myself. But for some reason, all the comments that I've got like this have been from men, which is so odd that they really think they're getting a zinger over on me. I probably did a lot of things. I'll probably share things about myself, but if you watch my other videos, I will very likely not ever do or post anything that sheds my ex in a negative light, that talks about what he did to get us here. because we're very amicable. We parent great. We have a great relationship. He put my Christmas lights up for me. So this page is about my glow up. If you would have watched any of the other videos, you would know that. It's not here to bash him. I didn't say anything negative about him. I have said some embarrassing things about me, and I'll probably continue to share things about me that don't paint me in the best picture to hopefully help someone else. So I hope this comment really got you going, really helped you out to comment that on someone who said that they were in a bad headspace and working on themselves. So I appreciate the engagement. I hope this helps. If you want a whole list of things that I potentially could have done, shoot me a message and I'll message you some of them, but I'm sure there's a long list. So I definitely was not innocent in this 20-year marriage, but I hope that helps answer any questions you might have. Hot take: women can be snakes too without the influence of men. And I was the ripe old age of 38 when I really figured this out. And I'll save you the comments of she didn't owe me anything. Yes, I know this. But to set the stage, this was right after my husband of almost 20 years said he wanted a divorce and moved out. I messaged a girl that I am good acquaintances with, and I knew that she had been divorced, and I don't know many people who have been divorced, so I messaged her, and I poured my heart out. I think that I probably would have rather have died than to feel all of the feelings that I was feeling. I did not think I would make it through, and I told her all of this. And she was a supportive bestie telling me about her situation, how you don't understand it unless you've been through it. She was going to be there for me. We needed to get drinks, what a support system she was going to be, and just really being there. So I was so excited because we had just moved home after his retirement. I hadn't built a ton of friendships back here again. And so I was super excited to have this person who had been through a divorce and could help me with it, and she also didn't want her divorce, so it was going to be a good thing. Well, interestingly enough, a day or two later, I noticed that her best friend had added my husband to Facebook, and she had met him a time or two through me, so I didn't think a ton about it, but I took note of it. And then a day or two after that, I noticed that this girl had added my husband to Facebook. And that was really weird because she had never met them. They aren't close in age. They didn't go to school together. They don't have the same circle. So I definitely took note of it. And then I noticed that she was loving anything he posted. And he wasn't super active on Facebook. But one thing in particular was it was the first day of school. And he had made his profile picture a picture of my son and him before my son, or our son, got on the bus, and she loved it. And I thought that was so weird because she doesn't know either of them. And so I messaged him and I said, hey, are you talking to said person? And he said, we talk, but we're not talking. And I thought that was interesting, but it was the night that he was supposed to pick up my son for a couple hours. So when he came, I went out and talked to him, and I was like, hey, this is really strange. Are you like seeing her? And he said no. And I said, you don't think it's weird that she randomly added you to Facebook? And he said that he thought it was really weird that her friend had added him, and then right after that she added him, but he didn't think anything of it, and he's newly single. I mean, he owes me nothing. And she messaged him on Facebook and had said, hey neighbor, because they live on the same street, I see you outside all the time when I'm riding bikes with my kids. I see you on your porch all the time. I sit on my porch. Like, let's start hanging out. We can get together. I was pretty flabbergasted. And I asked him if he had mentioned that she knows me, because we weren't in a circle of friends that he would have ever met her. And I said, did she even tell you that she knows me, or that I talked to her, or that I messaged her right after you left and told her that you had left and that I was devastated and completely poured my heart out to her? And he said no, that she had never mentioned any of it, that she had just let on like she saw him outside, which also, dumb man, just some random stranger that you don't know is going to automatically know your name and all of that and add you to Facebook. No. But anyway, so she added him to Facebook and they started hanging out, and she never mentioned to him that that she had talked to me, she was going to be my divorce bestie. None of that. And that was just so shocking to me. And not because either one of them owe me anything. She's not like a best friend or anything. And honestly, had she not talked to me about it and knew the situation and said she was going to be there for me, she's actually someone who I would have not been upset had he dated. But now I think she's a shady character. And that was last year. And she just messaged me a couple weeks ago and asked me about my cousin's dogs. And I thought that was so ballsy because I've never said anything to her. I'm not going to start drama with her. But I couldn't believe she messaged me either. And I ignored her. And so that is how, at the ripe old age of 38, or around 38, I just figured out how sneaky and shysty women can be. I blame it usually on the man, almost always on the man. This time, like I said, neither of them owed me anything, so save that in your comments. I know, which is why I didn't say anything. But don't act like you're going to be someone's best friend and then try and go hook up with their husband. That's my story time.
Well, I sure hope so, because when I asked her, what do you do? And she told me she was an actress. My next question was, oh, have you been in anything that I might have seen? To which she said, oh, maybe.
Storytime part 1. Okay, so I'm a mother of 4. One of my sons was murdered in 2017. So I'm going to tell you about the time when I went through the worst pain a parent could ever experience. March 12th, 2017, my son Stormy, he left home and said he'll be back, him and 2 friends. Before he walked out the door, he looked at me. I'll never forget. He grabbed the door handle, looked over at me. He said, I'll be back, Mama. He had a little smirk on his face. Then he looked over at his dad. He said, what's up, Pops? And their dad said, what's up, Junior? So he proceeded to leave the house. And so from what I remember, or what I was told, they were supposed to go paintball shooting. Him, the rest of my boys, and some friends. But I'm guessing my son made a small errand before they went. And he was never seen again, him and his 2 friends, until the next day when we found all 3 of their bodies in a car. So by 5 p.m., I got a text from him that same day asking what was I making for dinner. I said, tacos. He said, okay, cool. I can't wait. So I'm like, okay, all my kids are safe, cool. I can go ahead and go out. I think I went out somewhere, hang out with some people. Then I went by my mom's house. And I remember texting him about 9 o'clock, just saying, hey, what time are you coming in the house? He was 19 years old at the time. I didn't get a reply, so I'm like, okay, well, maybe he stayed over his girlfriend's house this time, you know. So I went home, you know, went to sleep or whatever. Still no sign of him. Didn't think anything of it. So the next morning, I received a text message from his girlfriend at the time. And she said, hey, Ma, I've been looking for Stormy all night. I haven't heard from him, haven't seen him. Have you seen him? I instantly jumped up like, wait, he's not with you? She was like, no. So I want to ask my other 2 boys. I said, where's your brother? You guys haven't seen him or heard from him? And they was just like, no, Ma, we haven't. And we didn't say anything to you because we didn't want you to get worried. So I'm upset because I'm just like, you know, why didn't you tell me? I could have been out looking for my kid last night or whatever, you know. It's okay, cool. Made a couple calls to the police stations. No word, you know. And at the time, his car was still at my house. So he got in the car with his friend, one of the guys, the deceased guys as well. And so I just sat in my room for a little bit and just said, maybe we'll hear from him. And, you know, made a couple of more calls to other friends. Nobody's seen him and everything. So as I'm scrolling down on Facebook, and I'm just looking at Facebook, and I see Chicago Tribune, and it says 3 bodies found in a car on 86th and Troop. My stomach started hurting. I couldn't breathe, and I got really nervous. So as I'm reading it, my youngest son, he was downstairs and I heard him holler, "Ma, we need to leave." And I said, "You saw Facebook?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Me too. Let's go." So we going down 87th Street, and I don't know, I felt something in my gut just made me feel, I felt a void. Like something, I just felt like he wasn't here anymore, you know? So I looked at my youngest son, I was just like, "Hey," I said, "I think something bad has happened to your brother." And he just started panicking. He was like, "No, Mama, don't say that. Please don't say that." And I just said, "Hey, we just got to brace ourselves for this. And let's just hope that he's alive still." So he just started panicking like, "No, don't say that. Don't say that." And I'm just like, "Hey, I think something happened." So we get to 86th and Troop, where they found all three bodies. That first person I see was Father Flaker. He was there on the scene. All these people were, the news and everything. And I was never contacted. I found this out on social media. So maybe they didn't know who I was or anything. He didn't have a wallet or anything on him. I guess it was taken off of him. And then I saw one individual that he knew, a friend, a so-called friend. He was out there as well. We wasn't from the neighborhood or anything. So I was trying to figure out, why was this guy out there? So come to find out, the guy said his grandma stayed down the street. He saw the news and he just walked up. Okay, fine. So get out there talking to the detectives, and I'm just like, "Hey, is my son in there?" And he was just like, "What does your son look like?" So I described him, 6'5", light-skinned. He said, "Yeah, he's the one in the front seat." And I said, "Is he dead?" He said, "Yeah, all three are." I instantly lost it. I lost my fucking mind. I just took off running. I didn't even know I could run that far. But I took off running and I was just screaming. Like, people were looking at me crazy. I just took off and I couldn't catch my breath. So my son ran behind me. He was just like, "Come back, Mama, come back. You got to come talk to them." So I came back and I'm still trying to breathe. I couldn't catch my breath. I was hyperventilating. And they was like, "Get her ambulance. Get her ambulance." So ambulance. So one came. They checked my vitals. It didn't seem like I was doing too well. Give me some oxygen, and I just took off out the ambulance, and I'm just like screaming, losing my shit. Like, who would want to kill my kid and his two friends, So I tried to reach out to his dad, and I had told his dad from the get-go that I was going to the scene and I think something happened to him. Dad wasn't answering, but he wasn't answering because he feared that I was going to give him some bad news. So it all set in, got back home, the whole family's there, everybody just losing their shit. I'm just asking questions like, what happened, who was he with? I'm hearing all these different things about people that he possibly was with, and, different things like that. And it's just like a bunch of stories, and it's just like, to this day, it's still unsolved because nobody really knows who he was with. Nobody knows. And it's just like, I don't understand from the individuals, like, why would you take 3 people's lives? Like, what kind of person are you to murder 3 people? 3 boys. News kept showing up to my house every time I would leave out, come back there in front of the house. They was like, "We read that they were good boys." Like, they were. They were average teenage boys that hung out, smoked weed or whatever, but as many as people I saw at each one of their service, they couldn't have been hated that badly where somebody wanted to do this. Like, and then I was hearing things that the police may have did it because they sat in a car overnight. Their bodies did, behind this lady's particular garage. There was a garage there. And the lady said she kept calling the police saying, "There's a car in front of my garage." Supposedly the police came out and put a ticket on the car. My thing is, why didn't y'all check the car? The door was open, you would have found a body in there. And from what I read in the report, the one in the truck, he was alive for quite a while. So if they had to check that car, we probably could have knew what happened. So supposedly the ticket disappeared. City of Chicago got rid of it. I guess they didn't want to be fault of it. They didn't want to be the blame of it. So they got rid of it. The ticket disappeared. And so, you know, we went on and everybody had a service. My son requested not to be buried 2 weeks before he was murdered. He said he did not want to be put in the ground because people didn't visit grave sites after so long. I did do a service without his body, but I also did a viewing that I did not attend. Dad did not attend. We did not want to see our child in the morgue. We didn't want to see him in a casket. So I asked my sister just to take one picture of him in a casket, and I said the day that I'm ready, I'll ask to see it. But I don't think a parent would ever be ready to see their child in a casket.
You guys, I got this new keyboard. Listen to this shit, okay? That is so cool. Also, I just typed your mom.
Hey everybody, welcome back to part 2 of my story time of me finding my son in a car, deceased, him and his 2 friends, March 12th, 2017. So in part 1, I basically went through everything about how we found him and everything, you know. So here we are after the service and everything. Now it's time to get back to reality. And so that first week was really, really rough. You know, it was just like everybody, the crowd is gone. Nobody's really there but your immediate family, you know, your mom, sister, immediate family. And so it became a struggle instantly, you know, it did. So I want to say that first week I attempted to take my life. So as I was sitting in my room one day, this was like maybe a week or 2 after, maybe 2 weeks after. And I remember sitting there and I had like a balcony in my bedroom and I had the shutter up and I was just looking out, staring out there. And I remember it raining real bad. And I had like some Xanax that I had been taking to sleep every night because it was a struggle to sleep every night and everything. So I remember just sitting there holding the pills in my hand. I was just like, okay, I'm going to do it now. I'm like, because I just can't live like this. It hurts so bad. I'm just like, this hurts really bad. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, you know? So I remember my son, my middle son, coming in the room and he was just like, hey, what you doing? I was just like, nothing, just sitting here. And I'm waiting on him to leave, but he never left the room. He just laid across the bed. Then my youngest son came in the room and laid across the bed as well. What y'all doing? We like, nothing. And I just remember thinking in my head, like, shit, I can't do this in peace, can I? They won't let me be. So we sitting there talking a little bit, and then I just went on and talked to them about it. And I was just like, listen, I said, if you guys find me one day and I've taken my life, it's not because I loved your brother more. It's because I can't take this pain. This pain hurts really bad. Like, I'd rather leave here than to walk around and live with this pain, you know? So my middle boy was like, if you go, I'm going with you. You're not leaving me here. And I'm like, what? And then the youngest was like, oh, no. If y'all go, I'm most definitely going with y'all. And we all just kind of chuckled. And I was just like, damn, I can't even do this. I can't do this. I can't leave this, you know, this type of pain on my family. Of me and my kids decided to leave here. You know, I can't do it. It's selfish of me. So I'm like, I gotta get some help, you know. I gotta get some help and figure some things out or whatever. But at the time, I still was abusing like Xanax, edibles and stuff to help me sleep. So I remember talking to one of my cousins and I explained to her and I told her, I was like, man, I'm gonna go see some therapy and, you know, try to get some help. And she was just like, made a little joke. And she was like, yeah, just be careful with the therapy. She's like, you know, if they find out you're trying to commit suicide, they gonna lock your ass up. And I was just like, oh, okay. All right, cool. So I went to see my psychiatrist and we were talking and everything. And I remember just pouring my heart out to her, just crying like, I just miss my son. I want to join him some days. And I, you know, and at the time she had like an assistant and I want to say he was like, I don't know who he was. And I remember just crying out to her and she was just writing down and she was like, yeah, okay, you feel like you want to join him? I said, I do. I miss my baby so much. If he could just tell me what happened, you know. And I remember her looking up at the guy, like shaking her head. He got up out his seat. No, he was already up out his seat and he started walking towards me.
And I'm just like looking at him like, why is this man coming near me? And then she said, we have a spot right across the street if you want to go and get some rest and, you need time to yourself. And I'm just thinking in my head, is she trying to lock me up in a freaking crazy house? And I was like, you know what? I'm okay. I think I'm going to be fine. I don't want to join him today. I'm good. I just need my prescription and I just need to get up out of here and go home. So I got out of that so damn fast. I swear. I was looking behind me, making sure they wasn't behind me and everything. So I decided to take another route and just go to some group therapies for other people that have been through the same thing. So I chose St. Sabina Church with Father Flaker, Purpose Over Pain. And I remember sitting there, it was a group of us. It was about maybe 10 to 15 of us. And everybody was talking, talking about their loss and everything. And it was one particular couple at the end, a husband and wife. And they were down there crying so badly. Like, I was like, damn, they must have just lost their kid. This is fucked up. So I asked them, I said, what happened to your son? They was just like, oh, he was shot to death on 79th near the expressway or something. And they was like, he was shot multiple times. And then it was like, and they knew which bullet that killed him and everything. Something I don't think I could ever do, find out. I don't want to know anything like that. And I was just like, well, how long ago was this, And they was like, oh, it was like 10 years ago. I'm like 10 years? And I remember thinking in my head, I was like, that's not the place for me. I don't want to be like this in 10 years. I want to be able to grieve and get up and move on with my life. I don't want this. And I know my son won't want this. So that was the only therapy session I went to with them. But I did keep in contact with the people that was running the programs. And I did want to do the walks, the marches. I wanted to attend those things and, be there for other people, other families that were going through the same thing and everything, So I never returned to that one or whatever, So moving on, maybe about 3 weeks down the line, I needed not the death certificate. I needed the police report for insurance purposes. So I remember going to 35th Street and signing up the clipboard asking for my son's police record. And the lady called me up to the desk. She's like, hey, how do you know the deceased? And I'm like, it's mom, but yada, yada, yada. So she said, okay, go sit down. And I'm sitting down. So 2 other ladies, white shirt ladies, called me to the back. And I'm thinking this is the routine. So I go to the back and the lady started asking me questions. She was like, well, how do you know this person? I was like, he's my son. And she asked me, so are you sure he's deceased? I said, yeah, I think he is. She was like, did you have a funeral? I was like, I had a service. I said, but I had him cremated. She said, well, who viewed his body? I said, well, my sister and his grandma did. She was like, She said, this is the problem we're having. We have no record of your son being murdered. Are you sure it was him? Can you make a call and just ask them who viewed his body and are they sure it was him? So I'm thinking I'm in the twilight. So I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I'm like, now I'm regretting not going to view him, not going to the viewing and all of this stuff. So I called my sister and my son and I was like, hey, when you went to view Stormy, was it him? They was like, yeah. What's wrong? And I was just like, well, they have no record of him being murdered here in Chicago. The last thing they have is him being stopped on a traffic stop on Kedzie. They was like, oh, Lord. I said, did y'all touch him? Was he cold or hot? And they was just like, we don't remember, Mama. They was like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So the lady was like, we have a record of the other 2, but we do not have anything on your son. And I'm just like, this is weird. So I was like, you know what? They're not going to get my hopes up high. I don't know what's going on. So I called the detective the next day and I was just like, hey, what's going on? Why is there no police record of my son being murdered? He said, oh, it is. He's just on a special number. And I was like, a special number? I said, why is he on a special number? He's like, certain individuals are under special numbers. And I was just like, you know what? At this point, I'm not about to question anything else. If he's alive somewhere, then so be it. I don't know. I'm just not even going to worry with this no more. And so we went on and just proceeded on, whatever. And so I got a call a few weeks later from an officer that I knew personally. And he was just like, hey, he was like, I've been trying to look into the case. He was like, they don't got nothing on him being killed. He said, is something else going on? And I was just like, I've been knew this. I said, but I just wasn't, I haven't talked about it to anybody because I think I would sound crazy, you know? He was like, no, they don't have nothing here. He said, you sure nothing else ain't going on? I said, I don't know. I said, I'm not going to stress about it. I'm not going to overthink it and think my baby's somewhere in protective custody. If he just walked through the door one day, he will. So, you know, that was that. And we went on and, you know, just went on with our daily lives. And then I started having issues with my other two boys. They started struggling with it real bad. So in part 3, I'm going to talk to you about the journey with repairing my family. Thanks for watching.